Well, welcome back to PKN's live stream of interviews being conducted at the AIP Australasian Packaging Conference 2025 and beyond. And of course, this interview is once again being brought to you thanks to Ball and Doggett. Lindy, lunch is going on behind us, but that's not stopping us from recording.
Absolutely not, because we've just emerged from a very robust panel discussion. And one of the panelists was Chris Foley. He is the CEO of APCO. Chris, that was a very interesting discussion all around so many challenges that we're facing as an industry, getting on top of material, resource infrastructure and so on. You spoke of APCO's need to set or to reset. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that means in terms of material stewardship?
Sure. So for APCO, we're moving into a new way of working. The challenges ahead are now much clearer than ever before regarding the targets and or Australia's transition to a circular economy for packaging. So with that in mind, from our point of view, we're really now working in material flows, which allow us, so flexible plastics, rigid plastics, paper, cardboard, glass, metal and wood. They're the key streams that we're now pivoting into, and by breaking them down and really starting to analyse the material flows within those streams, it's actually much easier to see where are the wins, where are the gaps, to then develop strategies and systems. When we're looking at those strategies and solutions to the task at hand, we're obviously now so we've got the material flows, but we're also moving into what we call systems transformation. That's now we're resourcing up in this space of systems transformation. We're having to build out our data capabilities. We're also having to build out how we engage the entire system. APCO's membership is largely brand owners with skin in the game for packaging, but the solutions to Australia's challenge around packaging requires a systems approach. Brand owners can only do so much. Brand owners at the moment are showing 87% of packaging landing in the Australian market is actually considered, has a good rating for recyclability. We know that much more, we know that we're not capturing 87%. That 87% relies on a system being harmonised and in tune to actually accommodate it and take it out cost effectively and both environmentally and financially sustainably. That's then when we look at, through these material flows, working up, creating material stewardship committees that sit underneath our collective action group. Those material stewardship committees are focused on developing, with a systems perspective, material roadmaps that go out in the first instance 3 to 5 years, but ultimately out to 2030, to give investment certainty, but also allowing APCO to actually engage more meaningfully with regulators at all levels of government, but also with decision makers in and around packaging. If you've got a line of sight to where a particular material stream is going out through till 2030, you're a lot more willing and comfortable making a long-term investment decision. I mean, for some of our members, it might cost them $6 to $60 million to retool, to move from one substrate into a more recyclable substrate. That's before you take into account the new cost of actually producing the packaging or buying the polymer, if it's a plastic. So the investment is significant, even just at a brand level. They want certainty, but so too you've got the polymer reprocessors in particular, which is the big gap. We know that in Australia we're blessed with a whole lot of paper, cardboard, glass infrastructure to both recover and reprocess, recycle. The missing link is really in the polymers. But we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars are required. No, you can't expect that to just happen just because it's a nice idea.
Sure.
And it's much broader than just saying here's a grant, because the operating cost of these systems are significant. So that's where there then needs to be a reset across the system as far as who takes accountability, how we actually bring stewardship to life for packaging, and have the right economic levers being pulled to recover the cost or to put money back into the system, to be able to capture, recycle, and actually reuse those materials or those packaging needs to be seen as an asset. It's not going to happen by chance. But again, it just, as we've been discussing, this takes a whole of systems approach, and it's much bigger than just a single brand owner at play.
Okay, so you talked about infrastructure that's coming on stream for plastics in particular.
Yes.
So by when can we expect, and how much can we expect?
So we know that there's commitments already out in public. Licella and Amcor have got a project on the go. You've got Pact and Asahi and Coke with their facilities coming online shortly. The Licella project's coming through in the next couple of years. There are a number of initiatives in the background that we're certainly aware of that are tens of millions of dollars and hundreds of millions of dollars is at play. There's complexity with getting permits, getting approvals, and obviously securing the funding. That doesn't happen overnight, but those investors, those businesses, many of which are leading global companies, some based here, some with significant assets already here, they desperately want to invest in the plastic solutions for the future. And our challenge is, and certainly APCO sees one of its roles, is to really help foster an environment where those businesses can actually back themselves to put the infrastructure in that allows these materials to be recycled domestically, not be sent offshore, and ultimately create circular systems or circular solutions for packaging. The challenge then is that brand owners need to back it in and start to build into their packaging formats recycled content. I get it at the moment. The availability of that can be a little bit sketchy, and the price premium can be exorbitant. But moving forward, we can't sit on our thumbs and just pretend this is not happening. There are solutions, but they're going to take some bold decisions.
And my last question to you, Chris, is one of the questions that came from the floor was, we can see now that the 2025 targets for certain materials are out of reach. Are the targets going to be changed or reset?
I can't see that the targets are going to be changed or reset. There's certainly some work happening in and around some minor elements of the targets that are causing a fair bit of grief in some areas. But the headline is, we can't expect that the targets are going to be pushed out. The reality of it all is, and we've heard this morning from some amazing presentations from the likes of Mars, Nestle, and Woolworths, they're leaning into this problem, this challenge, and they've invested a significant amount, and they're getting incredible results. It can be done. The targets are serving a significant purpose in driving momentum. Admittedly, it's patchy across the system, but that just says there's more to be done. And for businesses to think that they can just sit back and hope that the targets get reset, I wouldn't be suggesting that. And it's both from a broader perspective. There's no political will for it. There's no community will for it, and there's an expectation. And there's also no shareholder will for it. If you're within a global business, what we're talking about here is not new news, and the game's changed post-COVID. The community want more, investors want more, and so too does government. And I think if industry is not careful, then government will just lean into this, and the consequences, depending on how that plays out, could create some real challenges. Versus now's the time. We've got a couple of years to really jump on the cord, but don't lose that opportunity. The consequences of doing nothing, you'll live with for a long time, and the costs that may bring into commerce and industry around packaging.
Well, thanks, Chris. I know you've got to go and catch a flight now to go and speak to another group of people about the same subject. So thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Lindy.
It's been great to have you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Lindy. And of course, thanks to those of you who have tuned in to this PKN interview that was conducted at the AIP Conference 2025 and beyond. Once again, we'll be back with another informative discussion, and that will be brought to you thanks to Ball and Doggett, our neighbours here at the show.
Great. That's great.